We got a good one for you today, guys. Good one. I'm spilling all of my secrets. Hi everyone, my name is Gloria and I'm a graphic designer living in Seoul, South Korea. Today I have a very special video for you guys. It is the first one in a 10-part series going over absolutely everything in the client brand design process, from onboarding to offboarding and everything in between. Each of these videos will cover each part in depth of the entire client process. Yes, that includes stuff like invoices, contracts, the best way to receive payment, what kind of cancellation clauses you should have in your contract so you don't get screwed, as well as much, much more. There are so many things that can discourage somebody from wanting to work with you or wanting to work together in the future. Things like failing to present your ideas on things like mock-ups, skipping the research and development stage so you don't have strong ideas to back up your designs, using unprofessional documents so it seems like to the client this person maybe doesn't know what they're doing, and just not really knowing how to be organized or how to organize the process for your client so it's as smooth as possible. But don't worry, I'm here. I will help you and give you everything that I have taught myself and learned from school and all of the other great resources that exist out there. Before we get started, I really want to make this series as valuable for you as possible, and I know that a lot of my audience are people who are graphic designers or aspiring to be graphic designers. So if you have any questions about any of the things that I have mentioned briefly, I will be releasing these series weekly and I'm going to be recording them the week before, so I'll be able to kind of address any questions or comments that you have about these different steps in the process and hopefully incorporate that into my videos. So feel free to let me know if there's anything specifically that you'd like to know. Without further ado, let's get started. Backstory. So for this video, we're going to be using a real-life client. This client was an old friend from high school, and she reached out to me through the questionnaire on my website. It's a lashes distribution as well as other beauty supplier distribution company. So her problem was that she felt like her branding didn't match the kind of tone or vibe that she wanted her business to portray. And I thought that the business type aligned really perfectly with kind of the vibe and design style that I have, which is really fun and inclusive and quirky and colorful and bright. So when she reached out to me for a full brand makeover, including her branding and packaging for her eyelashes, I was really stoked to accept this role. Onboarding. So once my friend filled out this client questionnaire, which I just have on my website, I told her to schedule a call via Calendly, which is a really awesome and free appointment scheduling app. I highly recommend that you check it out. I use it for everything, and I'm a cheap BISH, so I try to take advantage of as many of those budget-friendly alternatives as possible. Since I live in South Korea and she's from Canada, the time zones are quite different. This is a perfect tool to use. You just set your availability and they can pick a time that works best for both of you. Even before we had our call, I thoroughly reviewed her questionnaire and kind of put together a project proposal that I thought would best align her needs and interests. And in this project proposal, I went over things like her budget, which package I thought would best suit her needs, the expected timeline for something like this, as well as examples of work that I've done in the past that would relate to kind of what she was looking for. And in my client questionnaire, I request that everybody sends a Pinterest board with things that kind of align with the vibe that they're looking for. And so using this Pinterest board, I, for my own sake, and to kind of further inquire about what she wants with her brand, created 3 different mood boards for her to review even before the client process began. We conducted the call on Zoom and I had this presentation open the entire time, and it kind of gives the client something to focus on rather than, just a face-to-face discussion, which I feel like can be quite intimidating. So it's nicer to kind of have something for the both of you to look at and spur ideas. It's really important to be really kind and open and friendly and ask a lot of questions. This is not the time to be shy because you want to be sure that you are communicating your ideas and things that you're not sure about as openly as possible. Remember, there are no such thing as stupid questions. This is also the time where you should go over some of the things that are outlined in your contract that you feel are important to you. Things like a cancellation clause and if you require a deposit or not before you start working. This proposal outlines all of this, so if you forget to mention these things, you can just refer back to the proposal. A proposal is one of the most important parts in being able to secure the client and make them feel confident about their decision to work with you. If you're curious about how best to structure a project proposal, make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the notifications button. I will be releasing a more detailed video about the best practices for structuring your project proposal and managing your clients' expectations. Research. This is probably one of my most favorite stages in design. I think that if I wasn't a graphic designer, I would probably just be a researcher of some sort. I really like to go into the background and history of things. So this phase is all about understanding your client's brand, who their target audience is, what their brand tone is, what their values are, and being able to craft a brand identity that fully encompasses all of this. You'll want to do research about their competitors. You'll want to do research about who aren't their competitors. You'll want to do research about what their strengths and weaknesses are and what their competitors' strengths and weaknesses are. And there is really an unlimited list of things that you could spend your time researching. So that, I think, is the hardest part about research. In order to create a compelling strategy that aligns with your client's vision, there is one tool that I use almost every day that has really helped me with putting all of this research together, and that is, yes, ChatGPT. I do use ChatGPT quite frequently, and I use it to kind of take all of the research and the notes that I have and formulate it into something that is more structured. And it really assists me with when I have a bunch of ideas and I kind of just want to create something that's solid. And I will go more into depth about how exactly I use it in my upcoming videos. In the research phase, I use a lot of the information that they have given me in the client questionnaire, as well as the things that we've talked about during the onboarding process to kind of push me in the right direction of things that I should be looking towards. Don't forget, it's okay to ask your clients questions. If you're still not sure about something or you want some clarity, send them a message. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Okay, so we've done the work and we are fully ready to start presenting what we feel like is the brand tone to the client. How do we do this? For the creative direction and brand strategy presentation. To kickstart the design process, I prepare 3 mood boards that touch on all of these points that I think are important to their brand, things like their color palette, typography choices, what type of photography style they should be using, as well as notes for every single one of these sections. You want to be able to explain every step in your process and have a reason for why you chose everything that you chose. These are really neatly laid out and presented in your brand presentation. This is something that I just email to the client, and that allows them to take their time to look over it, and I ask them to mark it up and send it back to me. To streamline the feedback process and make sure that I'm getting the kind of feedback that I want to be getting, that helps me as a designer so people don't just come back to you with make it pop. I include a how to send effective feedback sheet on the back. That goes over exactly what they should and shouldn't be saying and how best to convey their ideas. All of this is sent in the brand strategy and creative direction PDF, which is really nicely presented for them. Brand identity. Okay, I lied. Research is not the fun part. Creating the brand deliverables is the fun part. As we move into the brand identity development phase, it is time to put pen to paper, literally. After I do some more research on their brand and further refine their ideas, maybe they have a couple of revisions and things that they want to combine from the mood board. I tend to resort to traditional tools, a pen and a notebook, to sketch out all of my ideas and the things that I have in my head. I find it less restricting than working within Illustrator, and if I'm working digitally, I find it a lot easier to get distracted or be really tempted to go onto things like Pinterest and compare myself to other people. Once I start the logo design process, I like to make as many iterations as quickly and freely as I can, and having less barriers to get through and overcome makes it so I'm able to be more creative without, kind of judging myself on the quality of work that I'm making. I find that this process and not allowing yourself to be too influenced by what other people are doing allows for more authentic and unique designs. I have a lot to say about the pros and cons of using paper and pen versus just digital tools. I think everybody can kind of universally agree that it is the best way to freely visualize the thoughts and ideas that you have without judgment. It's always funny to me to see somebody's video on logo designs and see like everything that they have is like really perfect and could be a logo in and of itself. My logo design process is like 90% bad, and then maybe 1 or 2 are the ones that are really good and that I'm really, really proud of. But when you have that moment of this is gonna be it, it's one of the best feelings in the world. I always want my designs to be a reflection of what the client's values are. They should always be driven by logic, by reason, by all of the research that you've done. So when you present your logo ideas to the client, you'll be able to provide a reason for why you made this specific design decision. So in order to present this to my client, I have another document that presents the logo designs and kind of goes over briefly all of my design decisions. And because I think it's really, really important for them to be able to hear everything you made and why you made it, for them to understand and really be on board with your vision, I either schedule another call with them or leave them a voice memo alongside the document for them to listen to while they're looking at what you made. Collateral and applications. Okay, so you know how I said that research was the most fun part and then I said logo design was the most fun part? I lied. This is really the most fun part. Why? Because this is the stage where you get to put everything that you've been working on, everything that you made so pretty, and put it all together. It is time to bring your brand to life through collateral and applications. For Okanagan Beauty, she wanted me to make packaging, which was an additional cost and not included in my brand collateral, which I do throw in 2 or more depending on which package you choose. So I started to make the packaging designs as well as some business cards for her. Through the collateral process, because I was creating eyelash packaging for her, I have this really handy tool that I found. It's called Pacdora. So I had a really difficult time trying to find eyelash packaging templates that I could mock up how I wanted and send them to her in my presentation so she could get a visualization of what that looked like. Because the client had sent me a die line of the packaging that she uses for her eyelashes currently that I was supposed to create a design for based off of that, there was no eyelash mock-up that perfectly suit exactly what I was looking for. So I was able to use Pacdora to create almost the exact same kind of packaging that she uses in her designs. I took a little windowed box, and the amazing thing about Pacdora is that you can change and customize the size of the 3D mock-ups to anything that you want. So I was able to take these 3D mock-ups and then to make my own mock-ups on Photoshop to be able to present to my client on almost exactly what they would look like in real life. And these mock-ups give the client a realistic preview of their packaging in real life application. I currently have a sponsorship deal with Pacdora, so if you use my code GC50, you can get 50% off of the membership with Pacdora. I wouldn't be talking about them unless I use them frequently, and I do. It is the perfect application to be able to quickly and freely mock up your packaging designs so you can present them to your client without any issues or find basically any template that you want to use. Feedback and communication with your client. So managing your client's expectations is one of the most important things that you should do, especially from the beginning. Make sure you highlight the specific amount of revisions that you allow the client to have without additional payment. Make sure you discuss other things like cancellation clause, late fees, deposit if you require one, and other terms of payment or things that you think are important. This way, both parties are on the same foot and understand the scope of changes within the project. So when your client gives you feedback and consistently keeps asking you for revisions, you can give them a gentle reminder that this is the set amount that we discussed, and anything further will be charged at your hourly rate. Make sure you define in the beginning as well how you will be communicating, whether that's via Instagram DMs or via Teams or Slack message or Skype or WhatsApp. Another thing that's helpful is after every call, if you're the type of person who prefers to talk on Teams, make sure you're writing notes and you send a follow-up message to your client about the changes that you discussed. This part is especially important because if you've been communicating with your client over video call or over phone call, places where there's not a physical log of the things that you've talked about, and you've been discussing things that were originally outlined in your contract, like the number of revisions, but you felt kind enough to offer them revisions without having them pay an additional payment. In most countries, a verbal agreement made between the two parties supersedes what's in the contract, but if you send a recap message of the things that you discussed, then that covers all bases and ensures that you're good. You have a trail, you have something to refer to if there's some confusion between you or your client. And remember, above all, kindness and generosity go a long, long way. If the thing that you're working on is something that really, really resonates with you or that you're super stoked to be working on, it's okay to be flexible. At the end of the day, this is kind of a customer service job. The relationship that you have with your client is super, super important. Treat them with respect and empathy, and that can go a long, long way towards the trickle-down effect of the other clients that you receive in the future. Think back to all the times where you, as a customer, have been treated with kindness or somebody has gone the extra mile for you even though they didn't need to. How positively and how openly you talked about that place to other people and encouraged them to go there and try their products. Building strong relationships with your clients can lead to really positive long-term relationships and word-of-mouth referrals. Even if you're in a situation where your client is 100% in the wrong, they're being rude, they're being snobby, they're not treating you how they should be treating you, remember that your reputation as a graphic designer is not only shaped by your talent, but also in how you handle your interactions with clients. Offboarding! Remember how I said that design research was my favorite, and then I said, no, it's not. Brand identity is my favorite, and then I said, no, it's not. Making brand collateral is my favorite. Well, this is actually my most favorite. I'm just kidding. It's not. The amount of files that you have to export is ridiculous. It takes so long. Luckily, there are tools that you can use, which I will discuss in my future videos, to help you kind of speed up this process and make things as easy and painless for you as possible. As we reach this stage, it is essential to end on a positive and strong note. In my case, the service that I'm providing for my client is still ongoing. She has become a regular client since contacting me for brand identity design. So we changed from a project-based contract to a freelance-based contract, which essentially has no end unless one of us decides to terminate it. But when your project does come to an end, make sure you cover all your bases. Make sure you export your files, make sure you send the invoice, make sure you update every single document in the client portal or client drive. To stay organized while offboarding, I use Google Drive, where I share all of my collateral there, and I also use Google Workspace, which has some things like Canva templates if they wanted some created, as well as links to Pinterest boards and other stuff like that that isn't easily put within the drive itself. A nice touch and a really, really nice way to end your project is by sending them a client goodbye package. My package includes a page where we talk about the file types that they may have in their logos and what each means and what they should use them for, as well as some resources for things that they can use to maintain the branding on their own. Editing branded templates, Instagram layout and planning, as well as other print suppliers. Not a bad place to include your additional services too, so you can be reminded that you offer other services as well. That brings us to the end of the first part of the 10-part series of the client brand process. I really hope that you got some value out of this and that it will help you navigate your own client process more efficiently. If you have any questions, the floor is open. Like I said, I will be releasing one video of this series every single week, and I will be recording them a few days before they're released, so that will give me time to properly address your questions and comments that you might have about each step in the design process. The floor is open. / comment section. Get in there. Slide in there. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if this was helpful for you. For the latest updates, insights into my process, and more, make sure to follow me on Instagram, where I post a lot more frequently than YouTube. And remember, this is just my process. Your process might look different to you. There might be things that you skip or don't find necessary, and that's totally okay. We're all kind of just winging it. But this is something that I have found really, really helpful to me and has helped me streamline the design process to make it as easy for myself and the client as possible. In the next video, I will be going over one of, if not the most important parts of the client process, the onboarding process. I'll be going over exactly what is in my client questionnaire, how I schedule my calls, how I conduct the discovery calls, and most importantly, the project proposal and what should be in there, as well as other things like contracts, invoices, timeframes, etc., etc., etc. This is Gloria. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.